Hello, today we are making ribbon pull cards. So I started off with using my anti-static powder on a whole piece of paper, and I'm using Versamark ink and Nouveau embossing powder. I used the classic silver, and I'm just going to use my Versamark and stamp my bride and groom stamp. And then we will then cover the whole page with the Nouveau embossing powder. I like to do a lot at once just because it makes it easy, and then I have some on hand for when I need more cards or if I want to do a bunch at once. It just makes it really easy to do a lot all at one time. So now that I've covered it all with embossing powder, just making sure everything is good to go, and then I just use my heat gun to heat set it. I love watching it change from kind of the dull gray to the shiny silver. I don't know. Do you like doing that? Do you like using heat emboss just to watch it change as you heat it up? I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things. So now that I've got my stamping done, I marked my scoreboard at 1/2 inch and 4 1/4. And then I score it and fold my paper. This is how we are going to make the pocket for the ribbon pull card. So I make sure my lines are nice and crisp, and then I put 1/8 inch scrappy tape along the very bottom and then along the side of this pocket. So then as I fold it, it will create a nice pocket. And then I just trim off the side where it has the 1/2 inch extra. So I just make sure I line that up, don't cut where I just taped, and my pocket is ready to go. So once I have my pocket ready, I need to cut down a piece of paper to go inside of it. So I cut mine at 5 1/2 by 3 1/2, maybe a little bit smaller than 3 1/2, just depending on how your folds work out. So I make sure it's not sticking, and then I had cut out these, well, I had these scraps from another project, and so figured, might as well use them, right? So this is, I think it's 5 1/4 by, oh, it might be 3 3/4. I need to look at it, but I will write it in the description below for sure. So I just made it 1/4 inch smaller than my envelope because I like to have the white lines around it. So make sure I left some white space around the whole thing. And then I like to just eyeball it. You can find dead center if that's what you want. I like to just get it done. So you flip it over, make sure your holes line up, and then also just eyeballing the ribbon about how long I want it to make sure that I can tie a nice bow in it and it's not gonna cause problems. I also like to cut my ribbon at an angle so that it has a sharp point, which helps it go through the hole, but it also looks cute on the bow once that is all tied up. So I'll just feed it through. You can feed it through the front or the back. It's totally up to you. I have seen people put washi tape on here to hold it open where they want it. I like to just kind of hold it with the heel of my hand as I tie my knot, and it saves quite a bit of time. So there you go. It was super quick. And then that's the kind of the basis of it. And then we will add I'll line up my saying just so I know but I am going to put ribbon on the rest of the card to make it look like the ribbon goes all the way around. So once I get all the backing off my double-sided tape, I'll get that adhered and we can line it up and see where I need to have the end of my ribbon go. So this stamp, I needed the bray on the back to be about 2.5 by 3.5. So depending on how big you want to make yours. So I just put some scrappy tape down. Once I knew how far that sentiment would cover, pull off my backing, and then I just adhere my ribbon to that. You don't have to run it all the way. You could even run it, just tape it down a little bit at one end and then wrap it and tape it like I'm gonna do here on the back. It just depends on how wiggly you want your ribbon to be. So I like mine to be pretty secure. Make sure that I'm not gonna lose it if someone's playing with it or fiddling with it. So next I line it up and see how big my sentiment's gonna be, and then I use foam tape to make sure it sticks up because we don't want it smashing down that ribbon. We want that to still be able to slide freely. So once we place that on, our best wishes for the bride and groom, and then you can see the ribbon on the back. So we are just gonna cut a piece to the back down to the exact size, but the 5.5, and I think this is, I'll have to write it down. I'm trying to remember, sorry. Now that we have it cut to size, we put down our scrappy tape, making sure that we leave the ribbon clear at the top, making sure that our ribbon can still slide up and down. You do not have to put any tape at the top. Usually I don't. I don't know why I did it on this card, but you want to make sure that that ribbon can slide easily up and down. So making sure that I move it out of the way. But just making sure I am going to be able to put this back on easily. You can cut your backing bigger and then trim it down once it's on if you're worried about placement. And there we have our first card. This one we're going to do a little bit different. We're actually going to have it pull from the top instead of the side like on the last card. But we still mark it at 1/2 inch and 4 1/4, and then trim off the side, making sure that my measurements are right so that I can cut this smaller piece to go inside. Now that it's ready, I can put it inside. It fits well and slides easily. So now we'll put our front panel on. This is another one that I just had some scraps of. So I do love that it's double-sided, so then it was easy to come up with a backing piece for the sentiment. But I just got that put on. Make sure that it's even from each side. Here is a closer look at that hole punch I use. It's just a small one. I found that the smaller ones are actually easier for me to use, and these hole punches are so old. And again, I just kind of eyeball it. This one, you can see I just turned it and I should have flipped it. So now I flip it, line up the hole so it's in the correct place. And then I'm just using some orange and white twine on this one. It just is happy. It makes me happy. I love the colors on this one. So again, I'm just kind of eyeballing it up. How long do I want it to be? And then I will trim it down. So I just trim it with my scissors, which are dull. I need new scissors. So one thing I keep forgetting when I go to the store. Do you guys ever do that? Like, okay, this is what I need, and then you forget to get it. So here's a measurement for you if you are a measurement person. So that's 14 inches and then almost 6 inches. So just about 20 inches long is how I like to do it. I like my bows to be bigger and have bigger tails, but it's totally up to you. That's just the sizing I like to use. So we'll feed it through the front on this one. Like I said last time, it doesn't really matter as long as it goes through. And then I make sure my tails are even. And I just use my hands again. You can totally use washi tape to tape the white panel of the card to the pocket, and that way it won't move as you are trying to tie your ribbon or your twine, whatever you have decided to use on your cards. I like how quick this is to just do it, and I can usually get it tight enough. If not, you just try it again. So if you like to make sure it's not going to move, go ahead and put washi tape on, or purple tape, whatever kind of tape you can put on that is not going to leave any marks. Make sure it can slide freely, and then you can move on to the next step. Of course, you gotta make sure that your bow's right. The twine, I always feel like my bow gets tangled up. So now we'll move on to our next step. So I want it vertical, and I did the same thing with my thinking of you stamp that I did at the beginning of this video with the congratulations to the bride and groom, or best wishes. Anyways, so this one I did the anti-static powder, and I used the blue Nouveau embossing powder, and I will have that linked below in the description box. And then I just heat embossed it. So I'm making sure that my tape is going to be hidden behind my sentiment, but also that I'm not going to impede the ribbon. So because I am not taking my ribbon all the way around, I don't really worry about doing a backing on these kind of cards just because it doesn't really feel necessary to me. So you totally do what works for you. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you will give these cards a try. Happy crafting!